This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Campbell Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, National leader Judith Collins hits the campaign trail hoping to flip the newly created Tairi Electric Blue. A convoy of classic and vintage trucks passed through Dunedin. And Gore school pupils raise salmon in the classroom. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. A day after a visit by the Prime Minister, it was the leader of the opposition's turn to hit the campaign trail in Dunedin today. National leader Judith Collins was in town outlining her party's plan for a post-COVID economic recovery.
Oh yeah, we're confident.
Another day and another politician. 24 hours after a visit by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, National leader Judith Collins was in Dunedin, outlining her party's vision for the country. The visit, her first of the election campaign, started in Mosgiel at the O'Brien Group, a manufacturer of custom benchtops, partitions and panelling. There she received a warm welcome during the short visit and took questions from staff around farming, immigration and Kiwi Build.
Dunedin hospital that needs to get built.
Absolutely.
It's what, about 1.3 billion, you know? Where does that come from?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, no, absolutely. One of the big things with farming is they know we're not going to benefit and we're going to let them get on and do their job the best way that they can.
Later on, she outlined her vision to the city's business community during a speech at the Otago Chamber of Commerce. Collins told those in attendance she understood how tough it was to be in business right now.
Now in Dunedin, we've been today seeing some businesses where they're not open nearly the range of hours that they have in the past, and that's all because of that second lockdown. It's absolutely killing the economy.
Later on, Collins was asked about the difference in reception between her visit and that of the Prime Minister the day before. Collins says she was well received by the Dunedin public and businesses, even if media weren't there to see it.
I saw an incredibly good reception here in Dunedin, and I don't know we could have packed any more people in the room.
She was also emphatic about national candidate Liam Kernahan's chances of winning the newly created Tairi electorate.
Oh yeah, we're confident.
There are now only 10 days left until election day. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Yellow-eyed penguins could disappear completely from the Catlins unless urgent steps are taken to protect their marine environment. Forest and Bird Past President Roy Johnston says footprints of the yellow-eyed penguins on Catlin beaches could become a thing of the past. He says there were just 6 penguin nests found at the Long Point Reserve last summer. This is dramatically down from a high of 53 nests in 2012. South Otago Forest and Bird began predator trapping around the reserve 10 years ago, but this hasn't stopped the decline of the endangered birds. Johnstone says the penguins are starving after Ngāi Tahu put a stop to a marine reserve being set up along the coast 6 years ago. Ngāi Tahu say they have not made any final decision regarding marine protection measures in the Catlins. About 100 vintage trucks from around New Zealand have converged on Dunedin as part of a southern convoy. The South Island Classic Truck Run has brought more than 90 trucks to the south for the first time in 2 years.
About 100 vintage trucks are rattling around to the south as part of a southern convoy, which only happens every couple of years.
So this year it's the lower South Island. 2 years ago we did a long lap of the North Island, and basically we just hop in big trucks and little trucks over a certain age, and we just travel around and do all sorts of things. We visit different places, we go and see a lot of sheds, a lot of bloke sheds, a lot of tractors, a lot of old stuff, trucks, you know, you name it. We go and look around quarries and just anything of interest on the way.
Wanaka-based participant Kerry Lott has been taking part in the run for about a decade and says there is a great sense of camaraderie amongst those taking part.
When we're travelling in convoy, yeah, it's pretty impressive to see all these trucks. I'm not sure exactly how many are on the run. Someone said about 98, I think, and they're from the top of the North Island all the way down to probably the bottom of the south.
Lott says they all went to dinner at Lanark's Castle last night and are looking forward to getting on the road this morning for a trip through central Otago before going further afield.
We're heading up to Alex. We're going to go through the Clyde Dam, down to Mandeville to look at the Mandeville Airport, up to Balclutha to look at a couple of things, and then we're going to Invercargill for 3 days. We'll probably go around Richardson's Museum, you know, it's a must. Some might zip over to Stewart Island that haven't been, and then we go to Te Anau and finish in, and we finish up at Wanaka at Central Machine Hire's big tractor shed for our last dinner.
The tour visits the south of the South Island roughly every 4 years. In Dunedin, the South Today.
University of Otago Vice-Chancellor Harleen Hayne is leaving to take up a role in Australia. Professor Hayne, who has led the university since 2011, will finish in April next year and start as Vice-Chancellor at Curtin University in Perth, Western Australia, later that month. In an email to all staff and students today, she said saying goodbye would be hard, but she was looking forward to a new adventure. University Chancellor Royden Somerville says Professor Hayne has been an outstanding leader at the university and ensured it was well positioned to confront the challenges of the 21st century. Somerville says an extensive global recruitment search for a new Vice-Chancellor would start soon. Before becoming Vice-Chancellor, Professor Hayne was the Research and Enterprise Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Head of the Psychology Department. Year 6 pupils from East Gore School are learning about the life cycle of salmon by raising the fish in an aquarium in their classroom. The salmon eggs were donated by Sanford, and those that grow big enough will eventually be released into a nearby river.
East Gore School pupils Ella Latty and Nicaela Vetters check on the baby salmon they've raised in the classroom. The class keep an eye on the water quality using a test kit to make sure the levels of the waste product ammonia don't get too high, and they also let tap water stand for a day to let the chlorine evaporate before adding the water to the tank.
We just check them like once a day maybe. If the water is too high with ammonia, we need to take half of the water out of the tank and put half in again. And we need to let the water sit for 24 hours to let all the chlorine go out.
The young salmon were raised from eggs donated by the seafood company Sanford. And teacher Triana Morton says they're much more fragile than goldfish. So she's included a water chiller into the system to keep it at optimum temperature for the young fish.
So the salmon have to be kept below 13 degrees Celsius. So the water actually gets sucked up through the tank, goes through our filter here, and then through to our chiller, which is sitting at below 13. So the water's coming back in at 12.1 degrees at the moment, and then it gets pushed into the tank, so it's constantly recirculating. Works well.
And with the help of their teacher, the pupils are learning about the life cycle of fish and perhaps even the impermanence of life.
The first one that died, it was in the egg and it sank, I think, down to the bottom and it was dead. So we had to scoop it out. And we have named most of them when they died. Like the ones that died, we named them, and I went and buried one.
In the past, we've got a large salmon to dissect, and so we're learning all about the insides of the salmon and that as well. So it's just a really cool all-round life cycle project for kids.
This is a fourth-year salmon have been raised at the school, and the class have permission from the Ministry of Primary Industries to eventually release them into the nearby Mataura River. In Gore, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, a historic bit of Oamaru's hospitality industry is reinstated, and we have the latest edition of Global Insight for you with Bruce Munro and Professor Robert Patman, so see you after the break.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. MolMap is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Welcome back. A hotel in Oamaru has reinstated an old barrel chute to the building's cellar. Staff say rolling beer kegs down it is much safer than carrying them down the stairs.
Oamaru's historic Bryden Hotel has reverted back to the old-fashioned way of doing things by reinstating a chute to drop beer kegs directly into the hotel's cellar.
So our kegs come in from up on the road, shoot them down here, they roll down to here. We unload them onto the ground, they stay down there for 12 hours, go into our chiller for 24 hours and then get hooked up onto the keg unit.
Kingan says in recent times the kegs were carried down the internal stairs, but that was sometimes a struggle, so the almost 140-year-old chute system is now back in service.
This here's been here since the hotel was built in 1881. We did stop using it just because of as much foot traffic along the street there, so we brought it in about 3 years ago and it has been amazing.
Kingan says the chute is actually much safer than carrying kegs down the stairs. In Oamaru, the South Today.
In today's Global Insight, Professor Robert Patman says a war between two former Soviet states could put Turkey and Russia on a collision course. This comes after the outbreak of renewed fighting between Armenia and Azerbaijan over a region that has an Armenian majority population.
Fighting has broken out again between two former Soviet states. Is Turkey's leader Recep Erdogan using it as a stepping stone to re-establish the Ottoman Empire? Welcome, Robert.
Morning, Bruce.
Armenia and Azerbaijan, which are wedged between Turkey and the Caspian Sea, they're at war with each other, and not for the first time. What's going on?
Well, Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting over a territory, an enclave called Nagorno-Karabakh, and that enclave, Nagorno-Karabakh, is actually Armenian-controlled, but it's internationally recognised to be part of Azerbaijan. And there's been long festering tensions over this territory between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it goes back to the Soviet era when Joseph Stalin in the early 20s, as the paramount leader of the Soviet Union, effectively gave the territory to Azerbaijan, despite the fact it's largely Armenian populated, and Armenians are Christian as opposed to Azerbaijan, which is an Islamic country. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, that led to a full-blown war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and unfortunately tensions have resurfaced again in the last couple of years, and there's been, on September the 27th, there was the reactivation of military conflict, and it would seem, more than 150 people have been killed.
Turkey has gotten itself involved, and it also appears that Azerbaijan is bringing mercenaries in from Syria to take part in the fight. How should the international community be responding?
Well, so far, the UN, Russia, the United States and the EU have all called for a ceasefire. And, you know, as I say, it's been an uneasy status quo in Nagorno-Karabakh for a long time. And it would seem that Armenia could probably live more easily than with the status quo than Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan sees this enclave as a direct assault on its territorial integrity. And they want basically to eject the Armenians from that territory and reclaim it for themselves. And so you can see why there is such an intractable conflict, really. And Armenia sees this as part of its own territory. So what should happen? Ideally, it would be good if Mr. Putin and Mr. Erdogan can start talking, because I think clearly they're the two most powerful powers in the region, and their influence could, I think, result in a cooling of tensions. At least one of them, Turkey at the moment, doesn't seem to believe that's in its interest. So, yeah, I think that it's certainly important that Turkey and Russia play a more constructive role than they have been of late. It would be nice if the UN Security Council started to take a role, but I cannot really see that happening because the veto powers of players like Russia and China. You know, it's very difficult to see. The UN was largely sidelined during the Syrian conflict, and I think, again, this conflict sadly points to the lack of international machinery for resolving such bitter and sometimes dangerous conflicts.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Catch us next time on Global Insight. Noho ora mai.
And you can watch the full interview with Professor Patman online at odt.co.nz. After the break on The South Today, we catch up with the co-leaders of the Green Party to find out why they deserve your vote. And we see what tomorrow's weather has in store for you, so see you after the break.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Step into Shop on Carol and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Hi, Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Thanks for staying with us. New Zealand's general election is to be held on Saturday, October the 17th. Over this week, The South Today is bringing you a series of quick statements from the leaders of the 5 main contending parties. Tonight we bring you James Shaw and Marama Davidson, the co-leaders of the Green Party.
Kia ora koutou. We are asking people to vote Green. We know that people want politicians to think ahead, so that we can make sure we have a stable climate, a thriving environment, and a country that takes care of each other for now and for future generations to come. We know that coming through COVID, our country showed that we can step up, that we can put measures in place to be able to create a better Aotearoa for everyone and for our mokopuna.
So this year the Green Party is asking voters to think ahead, and that's certainly true in Otago and Southland. Specifically, we've got significant programs for regional rail in the south, for regenerating industries, and in particular for saying, well, what is the just transition plan for Southland and Otago post-Tiwai? There is an incredible resource there, both in terms of electricity, but most particularly in terms of the human resource, the skills, the talent, the engineering capability that we have around there. And we know that there is a great future for Southland and for Otago, built around what's been built up over many, many years.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. National leader Judith Collins hits the campaign trail hoping to flip the newly created Tairi electorate blue. A convoy of over 90 classic and vintage trucks passed through Dunedin for the first time in 2 years. And Gore school pupils learn about raising salmon in the classroom, hoping to eventually release them into a nearby river. And now look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome Hayden Meikle. What have you got for us tomorrow?
Good evening, Mel. I'm happy to say we've got lots, which is good. Always nice on a Thursday to have a bulging news list. And look, there was a lot happening in the city today. Politics was a big topic, but we'll get to that soon. The big news today that Professor Harleen Hayne has confirmed she will be leaving the University of Otago, the Vice-Chancellor. She's done a couple of terms and her contract was sort of coming up. She's taken a new job at a university in Western Australia.
In Perth, is it?
In Perth, yeah. I think Curtin University is the name of the institution. She's off in April. Unfortunately, she sat down today with our Grant Miller for a one-on-one chat, so we'll have a full yarn with Harleen in tomorrow's ODT. I mean, there'll be a lot to talk about, a lot to look back on. She's been involved, of course, in a lot of highs and lows. The university at the forefront, really, of everything that happens in the city, such a huge part of Dunedin. It's been an interesting few years, and there's some interesting years ahead, so that should be very interesting. And the also interesting thing today, obviously Judith Collins in town, the National Party leader, making her long-awaited appearance in Dunedin pre-election. So we've had Daisy Hudson and others out on the campaign trail today, and as we've seen, the Tairi electorate, big focus for National. They've got high hopes out there. A couple of interesting stories. A a cheese roll story. There's always a cheese roll story.
Look, you can't go past a
isn't there?
good cheese roll.
And those politicians love those cheese rolls photo shoots, but this one's a little bit different, so we'll find out more about that tomorrow.
You have me intrigued.
And tonight is the minor parties debate. I know they don't like that term, but televised debate tonight. The other party leaders, I guess, not Judith Collins or Jacinda Ardern, and we'll have Mike Houlihan, our political writer, watching intently and reporting on what happens, and I guess calling a winner or not in tomorrow's papers. So, other bits and pieces, a section of Blueskin Road's going to remain closed. They've got this big boulder there sort of overlooking Carries Bay that's been causing some concern. It's a little bit loose. We've got the latest on the plan for the road and for the boulder. And back to politics, I forgot to mention Michael Cullen's in town, so the legendary sort of Labor figure. He's got a terminal illness. He's spoken about his illness. He's also out there tonight in the Tyree electorate trying to keep drumming up support for Labor, so that should be interesting. And it's Friday, so Sport Tabloid, there'll be all our local sport, including how our Otago rugby players who are facing the judiciary got on, and some Bledisloe Cup build-up. It feels weird to say, but yes, the All Blacks are finally playing a test. I think 400 days between tests, which is extraordinary. So this Sunday's the Bledisloe Cup. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Well, there's something for everyone in tomorrow's paper. So you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Looking at the situation, the north to northeasterly airflow for a few days will bring some welcome fine weather and milder temperatures. Looking at the southern towns, Balclutha, Catlins, Gore and Lumsden can all expect fine weather with moderate northeasterlies and highs of 13 or 14 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes region, Wanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra are all in for light northerlies, fine weather, temperatures between 17 and 19, and it will be a bit cooler in Te Anau with clear skies and moderate northeasterlies and a high of 14 degrees. Up to the northern towns along the coast, Timaru can expect fine weather with light easterlies and a high of 15 degrees. Oamaru can look forward to fine weather with moderate northeasterlies and a high of 14. Inland at Twizel and Amarama, expect fine weather with light northerlies and a high of 19. Looking at what's in store for Dunedin. Fine with light northeasterly breezes tonight with an overnight low of 4 degrees. Fine and sunny tomorrow with northeasterlies. It's fresh and breezy in the afternoon with cooler temperatures, looking at a high of 13 and a low of 7. High cloud increasing and lowering on Saturday with fresh breezy northeasterlies, a high of 14 and a low of 8. And further south in Invercargill, it should be cold with an overnight low of -1, bringing light frost tonight. Milder northerly winds tomorrow with sunny periods and high cloud, a high of 15 and a low of 7. High cloud increasing on Saturday with mild northerlies becoming fresh and gusty, a high of 18 and a low of 9. And that's all for our news for this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Campbell Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.